Good morning, my name is Chris Fox, and we are once again heading into the world of cliché. We get to visit Bert, and it has been quite a gap for those who have been watching these videos since I put them out, since the last one. So you're probably noticing, wait a minute, Chris, it's been 7 months since the 4th video in this series. What the heck? Well, that was kind of done intentionally. It has to do with the way that I am building this channel. So I'm thinking about 5 years from now. My goal is to have a repository for writers. And what I'm illustrating here is that so much of writing a novel occurs in your head over time, that you can't just sit down necessarily and write yourself a nice synopsis and get writing, that you may want to take 6 or 7 or 10 months just to plot and to think about things. And so what's been happening for me over the last 7 months is I've been considering Bert, I've been considering the world of cliché and where I want it to go. And, I kept leaving reminders to myself, as you'll hear in the next segment, about specific characters and situations. And I gradually accreted this information. I sort of plot gardened in the back of my head. And now here I am 7 months later, and I'm finally getting to a point where I might be able to fit Bert into my schedule, my writing schedule, sometime in the next few months. And so I'm sort of readying the book. And what happens, and I love this so much, is that when you come back to a project that's been sort of percolating in your subconscious for a long time, you are brimming with ideas. So I am armed with all these reminders, and I've got a whole bunch of ideas I've considered over the last 7 months. And so it's coming together really nicely. And you'll see in the next segment the synopsis document that I've come up with and how much better it is than the original version when I first conceived of this back in video number 1. So this video sort of represents the culmination of what we're doing here. And there might be more if you guys want to see more. I have considered doing a 21-day novel challenge style video or videos that'll show the actual writing of the book. So if that sounds helpful, please make mention of that in the comments. Anyway, let's jump into the next segment and you guys can take a look at what I've created. As you can see, we are looking at a new version of the synopsis, and this was just written a few minutes ago. And I want to contrast it to, if we go back to the original synopsis, this is what I had in the first video. And so if we now look at this new synopsis, which could be the final synopsis, and it looks like it will be, you can see not only is it much, much longer, but it is also radically, radically different. We don't have the same main character. We have a whole bunch of secondary characters that didn't even exist when I came up with the original synopsis. And what's happened over time here is that I've kept adding documents. I have kept considering ideas that I think are funny. I've done everything from find artwork to think about situations and scenes that have kind of gradually cropped up. And I've kind of been using the Reminders app on the iPhone to add in things that amuse me. And then later on, they got inserted. So I haven't actually sat down and spent a ton of time fleshing this out. But what I have done is, I would consider something amusing and add that character in. So as an example, if you look at Ramen Brotep, the mummy, I decided it would be funny to have a rapper who was a mummy. So he's dead, he's very Egyptian, and I'm going to give him kind of a rapper feel. And I just thought that would be amusing. So I had this idea, and I just left a reminder to myself. And the same was true of other ones here. So this suspicious rogue character, one of the things that's very common in video games is that characters will have a nameplate over their head, so you can see who they are. And I decided that this particular character has suspicious rogue. So it's obvious that they're a suspicious rogue, and that's how our main characters are going to discover them. I have Wilhelm the Banshee. So any cinema fans who are watching this video are probably very, very familiar with the Wilhelm scream. It is used in almost every movie and has been for our entire lifetimes. It's iconic in Hollywood, and I promise you, if you hear the Wilhelm scream,
I don't know why you died, Goldie.
Then you'll recognize it immediately. Well, Wilhelm is a banshee, and what he does is he does the Wilhelm scream every time he wants to kill somebody, and a mook, like a low-level character, will automatically die. Oh, this is mood. Let me fix that. Should be mook. Anyway, you can see kind of the cast that I'm slowly building here, and this has come about from a variety of notes that I have accumulated. And the final plot is a lot more like Ocean's 11, where you've got a heist set up, and the bad guys are trying to break in and deal with the adventurers who, in theory, if you put it in air quotes, are good, but really they're not good, and they're doing things that are making Bert and his people's lives miserable. Anyway, this is the final synopsis. I'm going to jump to the next segment, which I have not recorded yet, and you're going to see this document change. So if you look at the manuscript where it says "You Need Go," I am following Dan Harmon's story circle, as you've seen earlier in the series, and I'm going to flesh that out and start adding in chapter placeholders, and I'm also going to create a more or less final cast of characters. So when you look at the next segment of the video, you are going to see that this has been fleshed out a little further. And then from there, it really is just a matter of sitting down and writing the book. I will do one more day of discovery writing, probably. I'll let it marinate for a while, and then as soon as I can get Bert into my schedule, I'm going to write the Dark Lord Bert. So yeah, that's probably going to bring this series to a close, unless we ought to do a Q&A section, or I think of more things that are relevant about the writing process itself. In fact, one of the things I've considered, and if this sounds like something you'd be interested in, please leave it in the comments below. I have considered doing a 21-day novel challenge, writing style challenge, where I write and edit this book on camera and kind of show you guys that whole process so you can see how it has changed since I first started writing, really. Anyway, let's jump into the next segment. Okay, well, I did not get as far as I wanted to get, obviously. You can see that, quite a lot of work was done. I did lay out the basic chapters that I wanted to get down. So I went again with the story circle, Dan Harmon's story circle. The U chapter, it starts out with Bert following a group of adventurers. You can see that I've got a little bit of definition here, more so than was in the synopsis. I might end up changing, the creature that they fight to something more interesting than the griffin. But this is basically kind of how the chapter will play out and what needs to be accomplished at the end of that chapter. And you can see that I repeat this with Paradise, Boberton, the Inn of Beer, Kit the Kitsune, the Tomb of Deadly Death, Fencing the Goods, Return to Paradise, the Dark Lord White, Bodies Hit the Floor, the Climactic Battle, and You Can't Go Home Again. Now, I'm not going to go through each part of the story and how it fits in the story circle, because if you pause the video, you can read what's in those chapters. And you'll notice that this does change as I get through the writing process. But this is a first complete draft of a story I want to tell. Each of these individual placeholders will be broken out probably into a couple of chapters. I will add more detail. You can see down here in the character section that I now have placeholders for all of the characters in the book. This is the complete main cast. And now it's about finding artwork to represent them. So after taking a look at what I've got done here, I do believe there is a need for one more video. I'm going to find the additional artwork for these characters. I will break out the chapters even further, and then you can see kind of where this is at. And I may even do a day of discovery writing just so you can read the first chapter and sort of see where I leave a novel when it's on deck and kind of ready to go as the next main project. And then as soon as I can slot this in, this will be what I work on next. I will finish the Dark Lord Bert. I'll write that on camera, and you guys will get to see kind of how my process works these days, because it's much faster and different than it once was. I spend a lot more time kind of ruminating on plots and taking my 9 months to get a plot ready, and then when it is ready, I crank through it very, very quickly. So this is not going to take me very much time to finish plotting and writing. Anyway, guys, I hope this is in some way useful. If it is, please toss me an upvote and maybe a comment. And yeah, I got to get back to the writing, so I will see you guys next week.